talk about Cooper Flagg, man. I talked about Cooper on this podcast already about the fact that a couple of rookies are lighting the world on fire to kick the season off. Obviously, VJ Hedgecomb is at the top of that list. Somebody should have an obviously counter, by the way. I might have to throw that in there as another thing to kind of jokingly add to the podcast because I feel like I say that a lot. But neither here nor there. Cooper Flagg is going to be a conversation throughout the entire season because this is the quote unquote next prodigy, right? This is the guy who had all the hype coming into this season. And is he off to the kind of start from an efficiency standpoint or a scoring standpoint as, your Dylan Harper's or VJ Edgecombe, or you even have Conka Nipple, his former Duke teammate who's absolutely hooping in Charlotte. Trey Johnson, from an offensive standpoint, has been really, really good so far this year. Ryan Kalkbrenner, we talked about the three guys, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner, and Conkanepo last podcast. If you guys didn't catch my Rapid Fire Friday, we talked about them for a good 5 to 7 minutes of just like how special they've been to kick off the season for the Charlotte Hornets. So there's been a really, really good rookie class. And that both puts more pressure on Cooper Flagg, and I think also highlights that there was so much more depth in this draft class than people were giving it credit, right? Because all year it was Cooper, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper. And it was really who's coming second after Cooper Flagg, because pretty much the entire collegiate year, the idea was, Cooper Flagg's running one. It's a fight for number two. And two of the players fighting for number two were both on the same team, a Rutgers team that really wasn't good that last year. And then you have VJ Edgecombe, who was starting to slowly but surely creep into that top three conversation, gets taken by Philly, and is like fitting like a glove for that team right now. And I would say that personally, there's a lot of people that are going to find this part of the year as an easy opportunity to quote unquote kick a man while he's down and catch Cooper where it's like, guess he wasn't the guy that everybody was hyping him up to be. Looks like another role player. Looks a lot more like that Andre Kirilenko comp that a lot of people were selling out. Not very much this, high level all-star caliber player that everybody was hyping him up to be coming out of Duke and everything that he was able to do on the Team USA run when he was with the select team and things, right? Those are the things that guys are going to try to point out this early in the season while he's not necessarily playing well, if we're talking about what he's done from an efficiency standpoint, right? He's averaging 13.8 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 37% from the field, 28.6% from three. But there's a couple of things that I think are a real caveat. And the first thing is that he's playing out of position. He's one of the only lottery picks. He may be one of the only picks in this draft class that's not playing in his natural position. Cooper Flagg, in 2K, he would be a small forward with the secondary position of a small ball power forward, right? That would be what the assignment would be. He's playing point guard for this team. He's playing point guard. Coming out of the draft, decision making with the basketball as an on-ball initiator was one of the biggest questions about Cooper Flagg because he's never had the responsibility of having to be this on-ball generator. Everybody sees the clips of him killing it in transition and the mid-range fade jump shot, the mellow fader, right? And they think he's this on-ball, heliocentric guy who is just creating offense in this crazy dominant way. No. Cooper Flagg has always won, dating back to his time playing in Maine, dating to his time playing with Montverde, Duke. He has always won playing off of energy and effort. He is the definition of bring your lunch pail to work. We gonna get busy. We gonna defensive rebound. We gonna offensive rebound. We crashing the glass, period, point blank. We're running in transition. We're operating off backdoor. I'm going to be a high level slasher in the mid area. I'm going to be somebody who can be a good pick and pop option in the mid range area, offsetting hard screens. He's a guy who is your prototypical high energy play finisher. He just has the upside of an on-ball game as a tween mid-range type of individual, where when you start hearing the Jason Tatum comps, I think that was always a little too rich. I thought the jump shot was pure enough for him to, maybe get that bump a little bit, but as an on-ball creator, he's never had that kind of isolation shot generator ability ever in his career. Yes, he's a good mid-range shooter, or a decent mid-range shooter for his size with the kind of play style he thrives within. But he is not this like run offense through. He's going to be a decision maker. He's not like, they're trying to have Cooper Flagg essentially be like Cade Cunningham right now, right? That 6'8", 6'9", jumbo wing that has the ability to, like, because of his burly size, can get to the basket, put pressure on the rim. Oh, but he's also a high-level facilitator. Cooper is not that, really. He's never really been that archetype-wise, ever. Is he a high IQ passer? I think he is. Can he be a good decision-maker with the basketball? I think he can be. But he's not a point guard. And then you pair that with the injury issues of not having a Kyrie Irving, not having Anthony Davis, really not having a consistent shooting Klay Thompson. PJ Washington's come back to earth as a three-point shooter this year. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford have both been out of the lineup to kick off this season. So I think he's kind of been dealt a pretty tough card here. And I was looking at some stuff online, and there was a couple of things that I think that really stood out to me as far as this idea of building up the process for him, which is, number one, he's been really efficient from the free throw line, which shows the kid's going to be able to shoot at some point. It might be a slow start, but the kid's going to be able to shoot, just simply shown off of the fact that the free throw shooting touch shows that he has some level of touch, essentially, on his shot. He actually spoke in a post-game pressure saying, it's a tough league. It's a transition. Honestly, I haven't made a lot of shots or been as efficient as I would have wanted to, but I'm going to just keep trusting the work. It's nothing I think they should be worried about. I'm not worried about anything. And then Sean Marion, who has a real close affiliation with the Dallas Mavericks right now as well, former player for them as well, former champion for them. He says he's learning quickly and you can see it. He's trying to pick up everything on the fly. It's going to be some bad days. There's going to be growing pains. But you know what? You got to fail in order to grow and gain and get better. I think these are all positive statements in the right direction. You have to also remember, right, that like Cooper Flagg is still a rookie nonetheless, regardless of how polished many believed he was coming in to the NBA. You had people like Sam Vecini say he felt there were no true offensive or defensive holes in Cooper Flagg's game. Closest thing to a perfect prospect he's seen in who knows how long. And I think there's still some validity to that. It just can't be exposed through a role that is also not familiar to Cooper from the perspective of he may be a quote-unquote flawless basketball player, but it would be best displayed. It would be best displayed starting with him playing at a more natural position. Secondarily, playing next to competent talent. Because again, the roster's been completely injury riddled dating to the very beginning of the season, where they come into the year without Kyrie Irving. Right, so Jason Kidd touched on the point guard thing, saying there's a couple of things behind him playing point guard. One is our health, as I keep mentioning. The other part of handling the ball is being able to handle the pressure when April comes around and you're playing for something greater. And this goes to my overarching point, which is I think truly when this season is over, even with what VJ Edgecombe is doing, even with what Concanipple is doing, even with what Cedric Coward is doing, I think that we're going to come to the end of the season and say, you know what, Cooper Flagg is still definitively going to be the best player out of this draft class. And the reason is because I think we can use the Victor Wembanyama lens as a bit of a translation to what this can mean for Cooper's career moving forward. I think that San Antonio Spurs allowing Victor Wembanyama to explore the studio space as a ball handler and more as a perimeter shot creator than putting the ball on the floor and finishing around the rim as much as he's doing this season opened up a sign of his game that taught him more about what he can do better as opposed to just simply thriving off of what he already does best, right? Learning more about his capabilities as a three-point shooter taught him more about just how beautiful it is that he can rely on his stride, his strength, his size to be a finisher in the paint. Because now the threat of him being this 7, 8, 9 3-point attempt per game attempter from beyond the arc now makes it where teams have to respect that he's willing to pull up from beyond the arc despite being 7'4". And now you get to bring out the surprise, which is, oh yeah, remember, I'm 7'4". I can be one of the best rim protectors and one of the best play finishers in NBA history. This three ball was just me letting you guys know that I'm capable of being someone that can be 7, 8, 9 3-point attempts per game. I'm capable. I'm willing to shoot the ball from beyond the arc at a high clip. I know I'm better around the rim, but just putting y'all on notice that this is still something in my repertoire that I can kind of lean back into every now and then and be a danger from back here. I think the same thing could be said about somebody like Cooper Flagg with the ball handling, where it's like developing this vision, this ball vision as a play initiator at the point guard position, developing a tighter handle, having to get better at learning how to protect the ball both on ball and protect the ball in terms of as a passer, being better as a decision maker with protecting the ball, are all going to be things where when he slides back to his natural position of being a play finisher, a slashing wing, knowing that he also has this developed ball handling ability, this developed feel for the game that continues to grow by being able to see passing lanes and angles differently, having that experience playing the point guard position, it puts him in a completely different light because now he's developing a skill that had he not been playing point guard, he truly would never have to develop playing next to someone like Kyrie Irving, playing next to someone like D'Angelo Russell if you just decided to start him at the point guard position and put Cooper Flagg in his more natural spot, right? This, in a sense, is, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise because this Dallas Mavericks team obviously would be much, much better if they have their guys healthy. But I think it quietly creates a developmental system for him by forcing him to see what he does bad while also opening up the eyes for him in a way where he's going to see the game so much differently once he returns to his natural position. And so when he's getting more catch and shoot opportunities off of pick and roll operations with Kyrie Irving, or after he's moving in two-man games at the 3-5, big little in the two-man game, and he's operating as a slashing wing, or he's the facilitator in a big man, little man, like I said, 3-5 pick and roll action with Anthony Davis. He sees the floor differently now because he's had to do it from the point guard perspective. So I think he's gonna see the game in such a different way, right? Like VJ Edgecombe, he's had to come in and just be your scoring two guard. Now he's been a big time defender on the perimeter as well, by the way. And we knew that he had the capability of him doing that coming out of Baylor. But he's been able to come out and naturally just be scoring two guard right out the gate, right? Cedric Coward, 3-and-D wing, shooting like 70% from beyond the arc or something crazy like that. Third leading scorer on the Memphis Grizzlies right now. Absolutely hooping, right? Ryan Kalkbrenner, come in, rebound, play finish. Perfect at it. Colin Knueppel, tertiary ball handler, knockdown three-point shooter. Been excellent at it. Like they've all been able to come in and whatever role they were drafted for, they've directly assimilated themselves right into that position and have been able to allow that to seamlessly forge this start to their season where it's been a lot more effective and efficient. So I think that Cooper Flagg going through these growing pains, the more I watch the tape, the more I kind of sit down and hear the philosophy around it. I think it could quietly be a really great developmental tactic for him. Again, very similar to what the Spurs have done with Victor Wembanyama in terms of letting him explore the studio space. It teaches you more about like what you're quote unquote capable of, but also allows you to see the floor from a completely different perspective once we dumb things down. Once people had to start respecting Victor Wembanyama as a three-point shooter from the perspective of saying like, oh, he is dangerous enough in terms of pulling it up from beyond the arc. He wasn't hitting at a crazy clip. I think he was hitting like league average from three. Mind you, taking 8 to 9 3-point attempts per game. It's like, oh, okay, we have to respect him from back there because like he's willing to pull this up at a high clip. Then you dumb the game down, you know, this year, and it's like we're gonna put the ball on the floor a lot more often. We're gonna focus on drives. We're gonna focus on getting to the paint as much as humanly possible. And now, because you've put so much more emphasis on respecting him as a potential three-point threat, he's putting the ball on the floor, and you're like getting completely flabbergasted by the fact that, oh yeah, he is 7'4". He is going to be a crazy finisher around the rim. He just so happens to also be able to shoot the three ball. Cooper, I think, is going to be a guy who's a really high level finisher around the rim, but now he's going to see the floor so much differently where he's going to cut at different angles that are going to get him open at a different rate. He's going to operate in the pick and roll at such a much more efficient level when he gets guys like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford and obviously Anthony Davis back healthy because he's had to see it from the point guard position. So when he works in that 3-5 pick and roll, he can operate with much better IQ, right? So these are really good reps for him overall, I think is what I'm trying to say. And I think that Cooper, man, Cooper is going to be fine. Anybody who's worried about Cooper Flagg right now, just either A, is not watching the games and focus strictly on 37.3% from the field and 28.6% from three. They're worried about the counting stats and the fact that he's not averaging 20 a game or 18 a game and, you know, dang near double digit rebounds. Like, they're worried about the fact that his counting stats don't scream rookie of the year right now. But I'll read something that I read on Twitter from Clutch Points that I think is a really good like way to summarize this section of the pod, which is they say Cooper Flagg has been the number one option since day one for the Mavs. He wasn't supposed to carry a franchise yet. Factual. He was supposed to be the third option behind Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, more particularly the second option behind Anthony Davis. And then, of course, when Kyrie Irving comes back, he will be, you know, the third option behind that as well. Instead, Coop has had to run the show. Kai is rehabbing an ACL injury. AD went down in Game 5. Suddenly, the rookie everyone thought would ease into a role has become the Mavericks' main creator. He's handling the ball, making reads, defending, rebounding, and doing everything a franchise usually asks from a vet. Through his first 6 games, obviously I've read all of the stats. One thing that should be noted, 21 of 21 from the free throw line, 100% from the free throw line. He's taking on pressure that would crush most NBA players. Cooper Flagg has been thrown straight into the fire. And the scary part, he will only get better. I totally agree. A lot of the reason why people thought it was so unfair that the Mavericks got the number one pick after the Luka Doncic trade is because now they get the best player in the draft and he doesn't even have to be your number one option. That's usually what getting a high lottery pick turns into. Is he's a guy that ends up needing to be your first, at bare minimum, your second player within the first year or two of him being drafted. This was a very unique draft class because Dylan Harper doesn't necessarily need to be that either because Stephon Castle was so good last year. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox is on that team. When healthy, he's going to be their second best player. Wemby, by far, is not just the best player on their team. He's the best player in the league right now, it feels like. Same thing for VJ Edgecombe. Granted, he's on a pitch count right now in terms of what he, can do. But Joel Embiid is supposed to be the number one on this team. Paul George hasn't played a single game so far this season. He's supposed to be, at bare minimum, the number 3 on this team. With Tyrese Maxey being the number 2. Instead, Joel Embiid's played like 20 to 25 minutes a game so far this year. Tyrese Maxey has easily been their best player. Paul George hasn't played. And VJ Edgecombe has just been balling. And he's gotten a lot of that opportunity due to the fact that, Jared McCain's also started the year injured as well. But I think VJ is going to get crazy time even when Jared comes back. Um, Colin Knippel. He'll have to be the second best player on this team. Brandon Miller went down to injury, but like the first two guys that come up the names, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller. Then probably third, you can maybe say like Colin Knippel, but like Miles Bridges is still on that team. So like I just named a handful of guys where like they were able to come into that tertiary role, but they fit exactly in with those guys because A, those guys have been healthy and available, and B, they've been positioned to be able to just step into that role without having to really take on any more extra burden for the most part. Like VJ might be the closest thing to that because of the fact that Jared McCain's been out and Kyle Lowry is kind of like a shell of himself at that spot. But like Con, I mean, Ace hasn't really been great this year, but he also kind of started the year out sick, so he's kind of had his numbers skewed by the fact that he just hasn't been healthy to start the year off. Cooper's going to be fine. Cooper Flagg is going to be fine. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are your worry levels about Cooper Flagg being a rookie of the year caliber candidate this year? Mine's is at like a 2. Like a 2. And I might even be overshooting right now, to be honest. But you guys let me know in the comment section down below. Last but not least, there's not going to be a lot of people who talk about